Good morning and welcome to Monday Morning Mobility. My name is Jeff Blanchard and I'm back to spend a little time with you this morning and talk to you about some ideas to approach movement from a physical therapist perspective. So my hope is that through these clips you're able to enjoy a better quality of life, get a handle on some pain that you might be having, and also I'd like to encourage you to choose to be active over being sedentary. So today's topic is the squat. So the reason I'm talking about the squat is because it's something that we all have to do every day. And it's interesting, I'll ask my patients oftentimes, can you squat? And they'll say, oh, I never squat. Squatting's horrible. It hurts my knees. And I'll remind them, actually you squat every time you sit down in a chair or every time you sit down on a toilet. So squatting is part of being human, and it's something that we all need to do. And it's important that we all do squats correctly, because if we are not doing a squat correctly, then that's going to cause troubles over time, especially in the knees. So we're going to talk about some of the do's and the don'ts of doing a squat. So oftentimes when I watch someone squat, they will either perform a squat, what we call a knee dominant squat. So a knee dominant squat is a squat where primarily the knees are moving. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bend through my knees with a straight back. So you can see that my back is straight, my knees are going forward, and that's about as far as I can go. Otherwise my heels come off the floor. So that's about as far as I can go with my knees going forward and with my back straight. So in this position, there's a lot of stress right under my kneecaps. So this is obviously not the way you want to do a squat. And then I have another group of people who come in and say, I've been told to never let my knees pass my toes in a class that I took. And so then they do a squat like this. They go way back here and they're like, okay, I can't let my knees pass my toes. And so they sit way back here and they can only go so far and they feel like they're going to fall backwards. So if I'm not going to let my knees go this way, I can't go very far. So the best way to squat is really a combination. So you want to move with what we call a hip strategy. And a hip strategy means that your hips go backwards first. So they go this way. Instead of your knees dropping this way, your hips go that way. So what that does is it turns on these muscles, which are they're really important muscles to help keep your knees in the best place possible. And it takes some of the stress off of your kneecaps, which should help things feel better in your knees. So I'm going to go here. So now I'm sitting back. My knees are traveling a little bit forward. And I'm going to bring my arms out for a little bit of balance. And as you can see, I can come all the way down into a full squat. My knees are coming forward, and I have the mobility to be able to come all the way down without rising up into my toes. Now, some of you can't do that because there's something not moving properly, and we can get into that another time. The main thing is that when you do the squat, that you do so with hips first, going back, and then the knees come forward a little bit, and then you're keeping your back flat. As opposed to, I could round my back out and I can get into this position for a squat, but now I've just stolen all the strength away from my glutes. And I don't know why you'd want to do that. Your glutes are a super important muscle group, so we want them to stay on for this motion. So your back stays flat, your hips go backwards, your knees come forward a little bit, and then you come down in this manner and you sit on whatever you're going to sit on. Okay, so that is the squat from the side view. Now there's the squat from the front view that I want to just go through a little bit. So I see a lot of people when they squat, they do this. They come down and their knees go forward and they collapse into this position in their squat. It's actually more common than you would think. So what's going on when somebody does that knee collapse in this way is they're squatting with no glutes. So the glutes control your thighs, your femurs, and keep your femurs where they're supposed to go. If I squat, my knees are doing this, I'm going to start having knee pain. So when people come in and they're complaining of knee pain and I watch them squat and I see this is something that we can correct. So I tell people you want your kneecaps to point towards your number 2 toe on both sides. So if these are like headlights, you want your headlights to go this way and you don't want your beams to cross, your headlights to cross this way. So you want your knees to track towards your second toes here and then come back up. All right, so that just takes a little bit of practice and a little bit of retraining of your brain. I would suggest that you do that in front of the mirror. You can have a chair behind you and you can practice your squat, making sure your knees stay in this manner. The one other piece I would say is your feet. You don't want your feet to go flat-footed as you squat. So if I do that, my feet roll in, then it's going to drag my knees into the center, and then again, it's going to be stressful on my knees and stressful on the feet. So you want to see that you have good foot position. You have your arch intact. Okay, so your arches are there, and then you're keeping your arches as you come down into your squat, and your arch is not collapsing. You can probably notice that I have a little bit of a difference between my left arch and my right arch because I have metal in my right foot. So I have 7 screws in there, so it doesn't quite allow me to move like my left arch does. I do better on my left side. Okay, so that's the squat from the side and the squat from the front. Again, the squat is a super important exercise, a super important activity. You want to do it properly. This is something that you do every day. You sit down in chairs, you sit on toilets. Anytime you sit, you want to do your squat properly. And so you're using the right muscles and keeping them strong, and you're not putting all the stress into your knees. So thanks again for joining me for this episode of Monday Morning Mobility. If you enjoyed this episode or found it helpful in any way, please leave me comments. If you'd like to share it with a friend, please do. And if you have anything that you'd like to have me talk about, please let me know in the comment section. And so until next time, choose mobility over being sedentary because motion is lotion.